the same dynamic programming, right? So yeah, so today we'll be discussing one advanced data structure known as segmentary, and this is very useful from competitive programming point of view. So segmentary, we also do have binary industry, or we also call this as Fenwick tree basically. So, but yeah, so today in this session we'll be discussing segmentary, and this is very interesting data structure. Of course, a tree data structure, and even from interview point of view also, it is like much more important than some other simple algorithmic problems. And so it also uses recursion, as I have mentioned in the last session, that in the first session also I was mentioning that the recursion will be used everywhere. So you have to get done about recursion each and every question, like especially the famous format and the famous questions of recursion, right? And the best way to do this is to solve more and more dynamic programming problems with the help of top-down approach rather than going for bottom-up approach. And I was also mentioning that the few things which are important in the case of dynamic programming is you need to write base cases. That is the first important thing. And then you need to write a regular, you need to write a recursive expression, which will tell you, which will clarify that how you are going to link, how you're going to basically break the problem into some sub problems, and how you're going to get the exact problem solution with help of combining all the sub problem solution basically. So that is a key part, actually, writing a recursive expression. The moment you write a recursive expression in the case of dynamic programming problem, you should be able to solve dynamic programming problem at least from the top point, like top down approach, right? And then you can do the memoization. With the help of memoization, you'll be like able to actually get the exactly same time complexity as you used to get in case of bottom up approach. So that was a thing. But yeah, it depends to person that which version of the dynamic programming solution you are liking the most, like top down approach or bottom approach, whatever. Like whether you want to create some dimensional array and then you want to go for bottom approach, or you just want to write a recursive solution and you just want to do the memoization process, right? So yeah, um, so so segmentary is an important tree data structure, and I'll just describing a particular scenario where you'll be using segmentary data structure. Okay, so I'm using collaborate link. So you can also, if you feel like my format or something, like the size, or I'm not able to zoom properly or something, you can just open this particular link and you'll be just land up, you'll just land to this particular page itself. Yeah, I just pasted in the chat box actually. So you can also open this link rather than looking at my screen, or those of you who want to look at my screen, that's good. Yeah. So for example, let us say we are having just for info reason, I just want to know how many of you are from first, second, third year. Please post in the chat box the how many of you belong to first, second, or third year in your BTech curriculum. Okay, seems like most of you are in third year. Okay, good enough. And how many of you are already aware about the segmentary and you know how to code and all those things, like all think about segmentary? Is there anyone who is like who has written segmentary code by itself and is very much familiar with segmentary? Okay, that's good. That's good. If the answer is no, if the answer is yes, then it may be like, yeah, you already know it, but still it will be good to revise, right? So yeah, so for those of you who have joined like this session first time, or you have not joined all the sessions, so we have discussed so far all the basic data structures, as well as like dynamic programming, famous algorithms, dynamic programming. We discussed binary search in some different fashion, not the simple binary search which you know actually. So you can get the audio from the coordinator of this particular session, right? So you can always get the audio and you can hear about a particular data structure, right? So so apart from that, we discuss in the last session, we discussed backtracking, two backtracking problems basically. And we mentioned that there are 4 steps in solving a backtracking problem. First step is that you need to write the base case, which will just check that whether the problem is solved yet or not, right? And then the second step is that you just try to do the hit and trial. And the third step is that you write a recursive function. And the fourth step is that you backtrack it, right? So yeah, I'm just kind of revising, but yeah, no issues. We are discussing fresh topic today. So for example, I'm just giving a scenario. For those of you who are exactly for those of you who are present first time in this session, so I'm Abhilash Rudra basically, and I passed out from NIT Patna Computer Science Department in 2016, and I'm working as JP Morgan Chase as a quant researcher at associate level. So I was competitive programmer of my time basically in my college days, 2012 to 16. And I also went in coding Olympiad, ACM ICPC. For those of you like who should be having a little idea about this, if you are from CSE branch or IT branch, and our rank was very much good actually. All India rank was 28 or something, and our like even on the other platforms also, like we did very well, right? So yeah, so whatever question you are having related to interview point of view, related to competitive programming, or related to whatever competitive programming interview point of view, or your curriculum, or whatever related to data structure algorithm, you can just post in the chat box to me. Yeah, I'll be just taking care of those questions well in this session itself, right? So for example, let us say we are having we are having an array, for example, and just writing in the shared screen that okay, we are having an array, let us say, and there are, let us say, n elements in the array, 0, 1, 2, whatever, dot dot dot, up to n minus 1 elements. And we want to have, we are having kind of 2 queries basically. One query is that we need to so we'll be given basically 2 indexes basically. Let us say the indexes are start and end indexes will be given to us from this particular array. So that means that whatever you're not able to get in my screen, or whatever you're not able to understand, you just paste in the chat box at that moment itself. I would love to solve the queries you're curious basically, right? So yeah, so I was mentioning that we are having array of length n basically, 0 to n minus 1 index, and then we are given a query basically, 2 kinds of queries. For example, we are having query first that we will be given start and end indexes. So obviously start and end will be having the values between 0 to n minus 1, isn't it? Yep. And we want to, let us say, any operation basically, right? For example, as simple as this, we want to sum basically all the values basically which are present between start and end indexes, right? And we want to sum all the values between start and end indexes in the given array, right? This is the question, right? So please start posting in the chat box that what will time complexity to solve this particular problem, since you all are in 3rd year. So I believe that you should be having a good amount of idea, right? So the time complexity will be order n, right? Or ideally you should not say order n, you should say that order what? Order n minus start, right? So the time complexity will be order n minus start, right? As simple as this. Is there anyone who did not get what I'm trying to say? Please post in the chat box. I mean, in every session, I make sure that whatever I'm teaching, it should be very, very much clear to all the students, right? It should not be that some student did not get it or something like that, right? So it's waste of time. So it's kind of like wastage of time for me, right? So you all should get at least whatever I'm teaching, right? So the order will be, the time complexity will be end minus start, right? Isn't it? Like we will be just, so what is the solution? We'll be just kind of iterating actually. We'll put we will be iterating in the for loop. We will start iterating from the start index, and we will keep on summing the elements, and we will reach up to end element, and then we will just output that sum, right? So this will be the way, right? So for example, let us say 100 queries or 1000 queries are given of the same type, right? I mean that 1000 queries will be there, and where each query will be like this thing, like 2 indexes will be given, a start and end, and then you have to sum all the elements between the start and end index. So what will be the time complexity? So for example, if we are given, let us say, n number of queries, right? So the time complexity will become how much? to make the session interactive, I request to all of you that please keep posting in the chat box. It feels good actually, right? The moment I interact with you all guys, right? So the time complexity will be, if you are having n queries, the time complexity n into n minus start, right? And n start can be as small as 0 and n can be as big as n minus 1, right? So in the worst scenario, it can be n basically, right? So if you are having n number of queries, then the time complexity will be order n square. Is it clear to everyone? Other people, please post in the chat box. Be interactive. It's always good. The reason I'm saying this is because you all are in third year, and even if you're not in third year, first, second year, whatever year you are, the moment you will enter in a particular company, for example, if someone is teaching to you or someone is discussing some project to you or some topic, then like people, higher management people expect that you ask questions, right? Or you interact at least. It feels like, okay, you are listening, like it's a kind of confirmation to the speaker, right? So it's always a good habit actually, which you should try to make from now onwards itself, right? Because in the college days, maybe that may not be the case, but in organization, in company, it matters, right? So so time complexity will be order n square, right? Because we are having n number of queries, and one query can take at most order n, right? So it will be order n square, right? So we want to do something better basically, because order n square is huge, right? For example, if we are having, let us say, n elements, so, or we are having kind of something like, so what will be the optimized solution? So one of you are posting that we'll be using prefix sum array, right? So he's mentioning that. So Ganesh is commenting in the chat box that we can use prefix sum array. So what does it mean is that we will be like, we'll make another array basically. Is this not clear to anyone? Please post in the chat box that what I'm trying to say about the prefix sum array, right? So what I'm trying to say is that Ganesh is mentioning that we'll be making another array, let us say name as cumulative array, right? And so this cumulative array will be kind of having cumulative sum basically. So cumulative sum means that cumulative array 0th index will be containing the 0th index of the array, but the first index will be containing 0th plus 1, right? And then second element will be 0th plus 1th index plus second index element, right? Element sum, like that will keep on increasing. And just in the matter of order n, basically, with the help of time complexity is order n, we'll be able to solve this particular problem in order n basically, sorry, order 1 basically, right? Because the once upon a time, once a time, you just create this cumulative array, and from next time, no matter how many queries you are getting, you just keep on subtracting cumulative array end minus cumulative array start minus 1. So what I mean to say is that from next time, what will the answer of the query will be cumulative array, and then we'll be subtracting end, we'll be putting end index, and then we'll be subtracting what? Cumulative start minus 1, right? Everyone got this solution? This is a very, very easy solution. Like, you all guys are in third year, so it should be very, very easy, right? Other fellows, like, is it clear to you? Okay, so this is very, very easy solution, right? Like, it's as simple as, like, even the first year, even the 10th standard child can also solve this question by this method, right? Prefix sum, you just calculate it once upon a time and then use it every time, right? So this is good, but what if? So the problem comes as this actually. Now, what if? So this was the first solution, let us say, right? Now, what if we are having another type of query? So another type of query is that, so query 2 basically, right? We need to update it basically. We need to sometimes, we also need to update the elements basically, right? So update the array indexes, right? So update the array indexes means that, like, suppose that we are having so this is a query of kind 2 basically, right? You need to update the array, not indexes actually, array elements, right? So what I mean to is that two queries are given. First query type is that you will be provided two indexes basically, start and end, and you need to return the sum of all the elements between the start and end, right? And the second query is that you need to update the element. So that means that, for example, I said to you that please update the fifth element as 100 value, and previously it used to be 50 value, let us say, right? So if the previous value is 50 and the next value says that you need to update it to 100, so you should be updating that index value basically, or that element's value basically, to 100 value, new value basically, right? So you'll be provided with one index and you'll be provided one value basically, new value, right? So you need to just reach to that index and then you need to just update the previous value to new value, right? So so that is the thing basically, right? Yeah, but the moment, so the QD1 was taking the time complexity as how much? Order n, right? But the moment we talk about the prefix sum solution, what was the time complexity? In the prefix sum solution, the time complexity was order n, right? Because just like you just need to subtract, you see line number 17, you just need to subtract the moment you create cumulative array. So the cumulative array construction, or the cumulative array construction, will be taking order n, right? But from the next moment, you just need to, you'll be processing all the QD1 type, all the queries of type 1 basically in order 1, because you just need to subtract two values, right? So it will be kind of constant time, so it will be order n, right? So like that. But if you need to update the array elements, it will be taking order n, isn't it? So the reason I'm saying that it will be taking order n is because from the next time, suppose that you made one cumulative array, right? You just keep on cumulative sum basically and you made a new array, but someone is saying that please update the array element as some other value, right? So at that moment your cumulative array will not work, right? Because the cumulative array is consisting of all the different values, right? And then you need to update it, right? So all the values will get affected basically, all the further values will get affected. Of course, for example, if you want to update, let us say, fifth element, so from a start to fourth element will not get disturbed, but from fourth element to, sorry, from fifth element to the last element, all the cumulative array elements will get disturbed, in the sense that they will those values need to be updated basically, right? Everyone got this? Like we again need to, so yeah, so we again need to make cumulative array basically, isn't it? Because because you just updated array value basically, right? So suppose that we are having total 1000 queries, right? And 900 queries belong to query type 1 basically. So 900 queries are queries in such a way that they are mentioning you first type, right? Start and end index will be provided, and then you want to sum all the values between start and end indexes. But 100 queries basically is of type 2 basically. That means that 100 queries will be saying to you that please update the array elements, right? So in this particular scenario also, what will the time complexity? So for 900 queries, the time complexity will be, so 900 for, let us say 900. So what I'm writing on the screen is that for 900 queries of type 1, 900 queries of type 1 will be having order 1, right? Isn't it? But it will not be order n basically. I mean, like what I mean to say is that cumulative array construction will also be taking n order, right? So order n will be initially, right? Because we just want to construct the cumulative array. So order n plus order 1, you can say that for from a start to 900 queries of type 1. But if we want to solve 100 queries of type 2, right? Of type 2, what will be time complexity? So every query of type 2 need to rebuild the cumulative array. So rebuilding the cumulative array will take every time order n, right? So it will be kind of 100 into order n. And in fact, like why the moment like we will keep on like changing, so 100 into n, something like this, right? If all the, so what I mean to say is that if these queries are not regular format, so what I mean to say is that so it will be kind of mixed queries, right? It should not be the case that like 900 queries will be together and then 100 queries will be together. It will be mixed actually, right? Then only like this makes sense, right? If it is like continuously you want to have query type 2 basically, then you do not need to like make cumulative array, right? You can just like you can just update the you just need to build a cumulative array itself. You can just do the straightforward. You can take the start index and you can straight up sum to the end index element basically, and you can just output the sum, right? So like that, yeah. But this is clear now. 900 queries of type 1 will be taking order of n, order 1, yeah. And then 100 queries of type 2 will be taking 100 into, for one query how much time? So order n basically, right? So now you see here also it's fine basically, right? Because it's still less. But what if if the number of queries are equal? Like for example, what I mean to say is that if you are having, so second query is a kind of update type, right? Like update operation basically. You just want to update a particular element of the given array. And the first one is that you just want to range query basically, we say, right? Range query in the sense that query means query, right? And range means that start and end indexes are there. So that's a kind of forming a range, right? So this query of type 1 is famous, like people call it as range queries basically, right? So range queries mean that you want to perform a particular operation in a range basically in a given array, right? So range query will be taking order 1, and then the update query will be taking order n basically, right? But suppose that we are having equal number of update queries and range queries, like 500 number of queries of type 1 and 500 number of queries of type 2 basically, right? So we want to do something better basically, right? What if somehow we can manage to solve every query basically in order log n? That will be fantastic, right? Because you see, if so this is the scenario 1 basically, and I was mentioning that if you are having 500 queries of type 1, so query type 1, right? So this will be taking how much time? Order n plus order 500 to order 1, right? So order 1 only, so order n basically, right? So order n basically, right? That's it. And then we want 500 queries, 500 queries of type 1, and then we want 500 query of type 2 basically. So we'll be having how much? 500 into order n, right? So this will be scenario, right? So it will be kind of 501 into order n, right? Kind of, if you are including the constant itself. Although the moment we mentioned that time complexity, we do not include the constants. But yeah, just for going deeper, what will be the exact time or something like the time complexity? We are just mentioning that it will be 500 plus 1, let us say 501 order n, right? But suppose that if each and every query can be order n, you can just remove it, because order n anyway we have to process it actually, right? Anyway we have to process array ones in any solution, any given solution. So it will be just order 1, right? But what if the time complexity can be reduced to log n? Like if both the queries somehow, if we manage to use some kind of data structure in such a way that we can get the solution of each query in order log n basically, right? So if 500 queries of type 1 will be taking order log n, so it will be kind of 500 into order log n, right? So I'm assuming that there is having some data structure which can solve both the queries in log n basically, right? So first query can be solved in log n, and the second query can also be solved log n, right? So what will the time complexity in that scenario, right? So it will be kind of 500 into order log n plus 500, isn't it? Plus 500 into order log n, right? Is it clear to all of you? Nobody's writing chat box, right? That's bad. Yeah. Thanks for writing chat box. So yeah, so what will the exact time complexity will be? 1000 into log n, right? 1000 into log n, order log n, right? So you know, the moment we talk about the log in algorithm subject, we are taking the base has 2 value, right? Base has 2, right? So suppose that the value of n stands for 1 million, let us say, right? The value of 1 million stands for 6, right? So 10 lakh basically. So in US we do not know, they do not know basically 10 lakh. That is not present in the dictionary. So they call it as like 1 lakh will be known as $100,000 in the US, right? So if you're talking, yeah, anyway. So so yeah, it's 1,000, right? So 1000 into order log n, right? So n belongs to 1 million, and the value of n is 1 million, right? So what will be the value of log n? So log 2 the base, and then 10 is power 6 basically, right? So 6 will come outside, and then it will become log 10, 6 into log 10 basically, right? And the log 10 value is that 3.303, something like that, right? So the value will be how much? 18, something like that, right? 18 or 19, right? So 18, which is the value will be which will be 18 into 1000, right? So it will be approximately equal to 18,000, 18k basically, right? 18,000, right? Is it clear to everyone? Yeah. So it will be 18k. But you see, in the first scenario, we will be considering this one, like 500 query will be taking order one, and then like this. How much time it will be taking? You see, it will be taking total. It will be taking. So if you calculate it total, it will be taking time complexity of 500 into order n, right? So 500 will be 500 order n. N is 10 power 6. So 10 is 5 into 100 into 10 power 6. So it will become 5 into. So it will time will become approximately 5 into how much? 10 power 8, isn't it? Because 10 power 6 and then 500, right? So 10 power 8. So you see, so you can see the difference, that how less it is, right? So this one is taking 18,000 and that one is taking like half billion basically, right? So 5 into 10 power 8. So 10 power 9 is 1 billion basically, right? So 5 into 10 power 8 means that basically half billion, right? So this is a huge difference, right? This is a magnitude 10 power 4 approximately, and that is a magnitude of 10 power 8 actually, right? I mean like 10 power 4 times more than that, right? Not 10 power 4 times, more than that, right? So the ratio is huge basically. So 10 power 4, yeah. So it will be 10 power 4 times basically. We say that now, that two things are like the values are kind of doubled of the other, right? Then we say that a triple of other, 4 times other, 5 times other, 10 times other, 100 times other, 10,000 times other, right? And then we say that 10,000 times. So 10 power 4 means that 10,000 times. So if you see, if we can find a data structure in such a way that both the queries can be performed in order log n, then we will be 10,000 times more faster than the previous algorithm basically, or the previous technique basically, right? So yeah, so here comes the picture of segment tree. So segment tree is a data structure with the help of which we can solve this type of range queries and update problems basically in log n. Both the operations can be solved in log n. So till now, is it clear to everyone, like this scenario consideration? Everyone, all of you guys, please post in the chat box. If till now it is clear, then we will just jump to the code basically, segment tree, how we can solve it, right? Yeah. So it's good actually, like if we can find something which from where like we can solve the both operation, yeah, that will be very good actually. And you know what, the moment someone talks, I mean like I'm not getting answer from all of you guys, so should I assume that like you're not understanding or something else? Please post, all of you guys. I would be happy to see actually all of your comments basically in the chat box, that you understood basically. It motivates a speaker always. Other guys, are you there? Abhinav, are you there? Who else are there? Akash? Yeah. Please keep posting in the chat box, right? Because this is how I will come to know that, okay, you all are grasping all the things which I'm telling to you. So coming to the point, so you know what? The moment someone says to you log in, immediately two things should pinch your mind basically. One thing is binary search, right? And the other thing is tree. Because tree is a data structure, like what, independent of what kind of tree it is or something like that, right? The most preferably it will be balanced binary search tree. So the moment someone says to you that please reduce the time complexity as log n basically, or n log n, from n square to n log n or something like that. So from n it becomes to log n. So few things should come up in your mind basically, especially from the context of competitive programming as well as interview, right? First thing that either we can sort it and make it log n. I mean like sorting takes in log n, right? But the simple array sort will take order n square, right? So yeah. So Ganesh mentioned that my voice is not clear. Is it the case that everyone, like my voice is not clear to every one of you, or is it clear to at least some of you, right? In this way we can like, okay, maybe some, yeah. So Ganesh, so that proves that is a proof that you're having internet connection problem from your side, right? So yeah. So yeah, so I was mentioning that yeah, the moment someone says to you that please reduce the time complexity as log n from n, actually few things should hit in your mind. One thing is it may be binary search. Another thing is that it may be sorting basically, because the moment you sort it, the complexity of many questions becomes order n square to n log n, right? So sorting, binary search, or tree basically, especially the balanced tree basically, right? So balanced binary search tree or like that, right? Or some other tree may be also possible, but it should be balanced basically, right? Because the moment we balance it, So why I'm saying this thing, why the reason I'm saying this thing is because you see, okay, I'm posting it there. Yeah, you see, if you are having n elements, right, in an array, and we want to build a tree basically in such a way that tree will be kind of balanced. So the moment I say balance, that means that you already know, right? That means that the height of the size of left child, right, the left subtree basically and the right subtree, the height difference of both the subtree basically, or the child subtrees, should not be more than 2, right? So this is the difference. So this is the definition of balanced trees basically, right? The like the difference between the height of the left subtree minus the height of the right subtree should not be more than 2, right? So you know that you are getting a very great advantage out of this basically. So you see, if you are having n elements and you keep on dividing in left and right, and then the left child will also divide, like will take 2 elements basically, and will take, like will allocate in its left and right, then again left and right, right? So you see, what is this happening actually? This is a very clear indication that each time you are kind of keep dividing basically the element into halves basically, right? Because see, the root element is 1, then the left child and right child, right? So on the first level, so let me create one tree basically, simple tree, and you see, so one element is there, right? Yeah, so one element is there, and on the first level, so level I'm saying that root level, right? So the number of rows basically. So on the 31st row, I've created one node basically, which is 1, right? And then its childs are 2 and 3, right? You see the number of elements got doubled actually from the first row. Now in the next level basically, the rows here is known as levels basically, right? In the context of trees basically, right? So 2 will be also having 2 childs, right? Let me draw 2 childs, and 3 will be also having 2 childs, right? Isn't it? So in this way you can see that each and every time okay, let me do one thing. Yeah, so this will be 5, and this will be 4, and this will be 6 and 7, right? So you can see that each time we are increasing the level basically. So on the first level only 1 was there, on the second level 2, the number got double 2, right? So initially 1 element, now 2 elements are there. In the next level you can see that the 4 number of elements are there, right? So you see, if you are having, so now see bottom up approach, in a bottom up approach basically. So you see, if you are having, let us say if you're having 8 elements, or let us say as simple as this 4 elements. So you see, from the leaf node there exists 4 elements. Let us say we are having array which consists of 4, 5 and 6, 7 elements, right? So only 4 elements which are having 4, 5 and 6, 7, right? 4, 5, 6, 7 are like forming a array, let us say, right? And then you see, let us say we combine 4 and 5, and the leader is, let us say, 2, right? So we combine 4 and 5 element, we called it in a group of 2 basically, right? And then again we combine 6 and 7, we called it in a group of 3, right? And then again we combine 2 and 3 and we call it as one group, right? So 1 represents all the elements of the array, but 2 represents only partially elements of the array, and then 3 in the same way, in the same fashion, represents a half of the array, right? So you see, if you are having n elements in the array and we are having balanced tree basically, then going upward side, every level up, we are kind of having like dividing the array elements into 2 halves basically, right? So this is the fundamental definition of logarithm, right? You remember the log definition, if you're talking about the base 2 basically, right? So if you're having base 2, so that means that every time you keep on doing half of the value actually. So if you say that log 1000, let us say, so so it will be kind of half, then you just need to tell the how many steps basically it took to become up to the value 1 or 0, right? So that will be called as the value of log n, right? So log n means that only, that how many, so you take 2 value and then you keep on raising it, 2 to the power 1, 2 to the power 2, 2 to the power 3, 2 to the power 4, 2 to the power 8, and something like that. And how many times you just keep raising it and make it the value n basically. So that will be the value of log n, isn't it? For those who is it not clear still, then I'll be just showing one example. Log, let us say 2 raised to the power 10, right? So 2 raised to the power 10 value is how much? 1024, right? So the what will the value of log 2 to the power 1 4? Sorry, what is the value of log? Yeah, what is the value of log 1024 or 2 to the power 10? The value of log 210 will be 10 exactly, right? Is it clear to everyone? Log, yeah, exactly, yep. So what I'm trying to say is that how many times you like keep on increasing the value of 2 basically to reach up to a particular value, isn't it? Yep. Yeah. So what I'm trying to express here is that the log n value, the importance of log n is that if the tree is balanced tree, then the height will become log n, isn't it? Because every time you keep on doing half, right? So the height of the tree will be log n. So if you are able to represent the array values in a particular tree, right, in such a way that you want a particular range sum or whatever, like some other operation, you want to do some particular operation on the range of the array, you can just use the concept of tree. That is a fantastic concept that you can use. You can build something like this, and then you see there are two kinds of queries, right? So you build a tree, let us say, right? We are having, let us say, array. Let us say we are having array named as ARR, and we are having 4 5 6 7, right? And we are having two types of queries, and you build this tree basically, right? So the tree construction will be taking how much, what will time complexity of tree construction, right? So the tree construction time will be order n only. This is more interesting, you know why? Because you see why it is order n. It seems like tree is a big data structure or a heavy data structure, but that is not the case. The time complexity is still order n basically. The reason why is because you see the number of elements, how many number of elements are there in a tree and in the array. In the array, 4 number of elements are there, right? 4 5 6 7, 4 elements, right? But in the tree we are having kind of 7 elements, right? Or let us say 8 elements at max, kind of approximately, right? So 7 elements are there in the tree. So it's a kind of double thing, right? If you are having n elements, so this is a kind of property of the tree basically. If you are having n number of leaf nodes, then we'll be having kind of 2n number of nodes in all over the tree. Did you get my point? What I'm trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that if you are having n number of elements in the leaf tree, then the total number of nodes in the tree basically will be double size actually, right? Why? Because why? The reason I'm saying why, because you see, I'll prove it mathematically also. So you see, in the leaf node we are having 4 elements, but in the next level we are having 2 elements only, and like that, right? It keep on decreasing. So if you are not convinced with my statement, you can do something like this. N is there. Let us say in the leaf node, n number of elements are there, and the next node, how in the leaf level basically n number of elements are there. So you go up, how many number of elements are there? N by 2, right? And it will be n by 4, like that, right? So you see this is forming a GP basically, isn't it? N plus n by 2 ka power 0, n by 2 ka power 1, n by 2 ka power 2, like that, right? So if you sum this one, so it's a kind of like you can do the GP, right? Like a into whatever the formula was there, right? 1 minus r ka power n, or r ka power n minus 1 divided by r minus 1. You remember the GP equation in the 10th standard? We used to follow GP. We used to solve GP. Everyone, like, and then the GP, if you do the sum, it will become, you see that it will become kind of order of 2n basically, right? Because I don't remember exactly now what was it. Okay, let me try. So the a value was n here, and then r ka power n. So r is how much? What is the ratio here? So ratio is half, right? Because every time we are keep on dividing by half actually, right? So n into r ka power n. So 2 ka power minus n, right? Or half ka power n. So the number of elements will be how much? It will be log n basically, right? So r ka power log n basically. So whatever n will be there actually, it will become that only. So half, I think, minus 1, or like 1 minus half, and then half, right? So it will be kind of order n basically, right? So the values will be exactly, if you do the GP calculation, the values will be exactly order n, and the value will be 2n or something like that, right? So even if it is 2n or 3n, then also you know that in time complexity we see it as order n basically, right? So yeah, so this is what I just wanted to prove for that. Yeah. So you see two kinds of operation. First operation was that we need to do the range query sum, right? So you want to do the range query, so you do not need to actually do the complete, you do not need to operate on the complete range actually, right? For example, if you want to perform from first element to the range of, let us say, last element, right? Or like that, any two indexes basically. So you just need to figure out a proper index in this particular binary tree, balanced binary tree, in such a way that that particular index is responsible for all the elements which you want to consider in the query type 1. I'm just repeating it once again only. For example, I'm just taking example to show you. For example, let us say the array is 4 5 6 7, right? And we have built the one binary balance tree, right? And for example, you want to know the elements, basically this is a simple example, so of course like all the elements are not coming here. So you want to consider the sum of third element and fourth element, third element to the last element, what is that is seventh element, sorry, fourth element, that is 7 value, right? So 6 to 7, right? So you just need to find out a particular node which is responsible for, like, who is the leader of both these elements. Did you get my point? What I'm trying to say? I'm trying to say that you find a particular node in the tree. Yeah, exactly. So someone has commented in the chat box that so 3 node is responsible for, like, 3 is a kind of leader of 6 and 7, right? So that's true, absolutely, right? If you want to do operation which consists of 4 and 5 element, first or second element, so you will find a node actually. So that node will be 2 basically. If you want to perform operation on all the elements of the array, then the node will be 1 node, right? So root node will be responsible for all the leaf nodes basically, right? So here leaf node is our the actual array nodes, right? And the others are representative nodes, isn't it? If anything is not clear to you, please post in the chat box. I'd be happy to solve it, like you're curious, right? Yeah. So yeah. So you see, now someone may say that, sir, what happens if we want to consider 5, 6, 7, right? So 5, 6, 7 do not lie under a particular under a one representative, right? Because 6 and 7 lies under 3, but 5 lies under 2. So okay, so I'm just, Ganesh, for you only, I'm just solving one other case. So some student says that, sir, what will be the solution if you want to do a particular operation for elements second, third and fourth, that is 5, 6 and 7, right? So you can say that, sir, 5, 6, 7 do not come under, do not I mean, like 5, 6, 7 are not coming under a particular representative, right? So no node is no node exists, actually one node in such a way that he is responsible for all the 3 elements 5, 6, 7, right? So Ganesh, what I'm trying to say is that there should be a, so all the leaf nodes, so all the leaf nodes are the actual array nodes, but all the other nodes, upper nodes basically, are the representative nodes. So what do I mean by representative node is that each and every representative node will be responsible for some of the elements of the array. Is it clear? So for example, so second node is responsible for 4 and 5, right? So third node is responsible for 6 and 7, right? And then first node is responsible for all of them, right? Because first node is responsible for 2 and 3, and 2 and 3 itself are representative nodes who are responsible for 4, 5, 6, 7. So one will be responsible for all the nodes. Is it clear to you, Ganesh, now? Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that someone may say that 5, 6, 7 do not come under a particular representative, right? So in that particular scenario, you just split in 2 parts. It cannot be more than 2 parts, right? Because it's a binary, right? Binary means that 2 only. So it can be at max 2 representative nodes. So 6 and 7 come under the representation of 3 basically, and 5 comes under the representation of 2. So you can just take the sum of 3 and then you can manually do the 5 element, actually, like whatever 5 element is there, you plus. So is it clear to you, all of you guys? I believe that it is clear now. So now what I mean to say is that second and third node will be not second and 3. So node. So one more thing, I'm just revising my pre one. You remember what was a node actually? The moment I say node, it is a kind of basically packet basically, right? A struct node and its packet, right? So it will be consisting of some integer value, let us say data. Is it clear to all of you? Anyone who is not aware about this struct node concept? So this struct node concept will be consisting of one, let us say, integer data, and then 2 pointers will be there in C++, right? So one pointer is left and then one pointer will be right? So like that. Is it clear to everyone apart from Pushpendra? Yeah. So yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that in the second, so this second node will be consisting of, rather than integer value, it will be consisting of integer value which will be a sum basically, right? And some other things will also be there in the node, but I'm just like doing it, making it simple basically to you, for you guys to understand basically. So what I'm trying to say is that this second node, so this is a kind of node, right? So in this particular node will be containing the information of the sum of the values for which it is responsible. So second node will be consisting of value known as 9 basically, right? Because 4 plus 5 is 9. Third node will be consisting of value, some value as 7 plus 6, 13, right? So third will be containing a value 13. Second node will be containing a value of 9, right? And first element will be containing the value of all the elements, right? So 9 plus, like it's left, basically some of its left child and right child. So 9 plus 13, so 21, right? Or basically 22 basically, right? So 22, yeah. So yeah. So is it clear to everyone? So now I'm just moving step by step so you guys can understand it very clearly that what's happening there. Just a second. Yeah, sorry. So now, so yeah, so these things are clear to you. So now you all guys know that what's happening there, right? So one sec. Uh, yeah, so I'm just jumping to the code part because I think that you all guys are ready to know the code now because all the fundamentals are approximately clear to you all. So it's not about the only sum actually, whatever operation you want to do, like whatever operations where you can apply this technique basically. And in competitive programming, we used to get a lot of segmented questions, and especially in the month challenge, long challenge basically, where we used to have 10 days in CodeChef. So yeah. So let me write some bit of code basically, and then we can just yeah. So first step we need to do is that we need to construct first of all this tree, right? So for that we need to be very much clear about the code, right? Yeah. So construction of, so you know what, like why this tree is known as segment tree. So you should be having fair amount of idea now, right? Because we are kind of splitting all the elements values in segments basically, and then we are trying to solve a problem, and every node of the tree will represent a segment of the array basically, right? So therefore it is known as segment tree basically. So construction of segment tree. So what will the time complexity of construction basically? Order n only, right? Because there are 2n approximately elements, right? I just proved from the GP one, right? Because there cannot be more than 2n approximately elements, so the order will be n or 2n or whatever. Like it will be known as n only, right? Even if it is 2n, because the constants we do not consider in the case of time complexity, right? So yeah, construction of segment tree will be order n basically, right? So recursively, of course, we are going to do it, solve it by recursively, right? So any idea how we'll be solving it recursively? Please post in chat box how. So you just think once how you can solve it like construction. So what you need to do, you need to take, so input will be array elements basically 4 5 6 and 7, right? And then you need to construct this tree basically, whole tree, right, in the recursive way. So how you are going to do this? Any idea in the chat box? The reason I'm asking idea is because the moment you will think your idea at this moment, so that will be kind of permanent impression in your brain basically, right? Because yeah, so this is how the maths work basically, right? So any question in the mathematics, if you are thinking, then only in the examination hall there is a great probability that you will be able to solve that problem, right? So any idea in the chat box? Please post in the chat box. What should be the technique basically to solve this one? No idea. Just think. What will be the input to you? Let me give you a little hint. So I'm writing a construct function, and let us say this function will be returning a node basically, right? So integer, and then construct function, construct seg or segment tree, right? And the input to this particular function will be, of course, one array will be there, right? Of course, one array will be there. What else? We need to construct it. So from where to where, right? So constructing from, let us say, 0th index at this moment. So two indexes will be there. One will be start and one will be end. So this particular function is responsible for constructing from start to end, right? And we'll be having one segment tree basically. So let us say we kind of having one array or whatever in C++ integer pointer, or we can go for something else also, right? So segment tree can be node pointer also or whatever. But for the simple example of someone, I'm just taking int pointer because it will not consist a lot of things there, right? So array will be more than enough to consist of all those data basically. But you want to have, if you want to have some other information also in a particular node of this segment tree, you can use the struct node basically, right? So like that. So yeah, so this is simple, very much simple. And what else we will need? Actually, array will be there, a start index will be there, end index will be there, for which we are talking about in this particular stack function. And then yeah, this is all I think we will need basically, right? And apart from that, we will be kind of having nothing. Yeah. So so now think, how can we go with this basically? I just provided one input also, right? Because one parameter of functions also, right? So this will be the parameters in the function, and this function we need to complete it. So how to solve it? At least some hint I want to hear from you all guys, because I just explained something, some like basics and some other stuffs, prerequisites basically. I've solved all the prerequisites of segment tree. Just the code is needed now. So I just want to hear from you all of you guys, that how you'll think in a particular way. No idea? Okay, okay, no problem. So yeah, so you see, so what I'll be doing is that, um, so we'll be taking, so we'll start constructing it from the root node basically. So we will take a root node and we'll keep on dividing, and the moment we'll reach up to leaf node basically, at that moment we will substitute the array values in the leaf node, isn't it? Right? This approach seems to be working, right? So in the recursion, what we do in the end, actually we start. So recursion means what? That, right? So recursion means that you keep on going, and then you fill that element first, like in the last call basically, and then you keep coming back basically and keep filling it, right? So this is a kind of recursive thought, right? So so what I mean to say is that we'll pick one root node, and then we'll keep on traversing up to leaf nodes in such a way that the moment we get leaf node basically, then we come to know. So what I'm trying to say is that, so we'll be initially we'll be at this level, right? So first level where we'll be having only root node or level or node 1 basically, right? And then we'll go to its left and right, then we'll keep going to the left and right up to the end. Then the moment we reach up to the end basically, at that moment we will come to know that how we are able to like verify that whether we have reached up to leaf node or not. And then we will kind of like keep on filling basically the array elements in its leaf node, right? Then we will keep on doing 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, right? So this is the approach I'm going to implement it, right? Is the basic funda clear now? What I'm trying to say, we'll pick root node and then we'll keep on like going in the depth basically until the time, like we keep on going till the time we do not reach up to leaf node. The moment we reach up to leaf node basically, at that moment we will keep on like substituting the array elements, you know, because the leaf nodes are the actual array nodes, isn't it? Is it clear now to all of you? Please post in the chat box. Is it clear? The basic funda is clear, like what I'm trying to say, how we'll be approaching. Yeah, so this will, so yeah, so so yeah, let me write you a little code basically. So I'm just writing, so in the recursion, what two things are important? One base case is important and one recursive call is important, right? So I'm writing base case. So what will be the base case? So base case is a thing where we are going to end it, isn't it? In the recursion, the base case represents that, okay, this is where we are going to end this recursive call, isn't it? Because we are returning from that statement itself, from the base case, right? So you see in my description, basically what I said, what I mentioned to you guys, that from, so we will take it from top element and then we'll keep on going up to leaf node, and from leaf node, the moment we reach up to leaf node, that is the time when we have to end the recursion, right? At that time, we will substitute the array element to the leaf node, right? So the base case is certainly going to be something related to the leaf node, right? So when will we be reaching the leaf node, right? So that is the question now. So you see, what is the start and end index initially, like the int main from where we will be calling this function? What will be the start and end? So a start will be, this is very simple. Please write in the chat box. A start will be 0, isn't it? Because we want to make one array which starts from 0 and a starting point, right? It will be a starting thing, not like, yeah. And then it will be n-1, right? So like that, right? And then we need to also define actually at which element we are, like in the segment tree, actual tree, on which till which node we have already worked it, right? So for example, for that actually, let it as segment tree node or whatever, or index, let us say node index, yeah, right? So we'll need this one, right? So yeah, so I was talking to you that base case will be something related to the leaf node, right? So can you please just think that when we will reach up to the leaf node, how we'll know, right? So the moment we'll reach up to leaf node, what will happen is that this representative things will become void basically. So what I mean to say is that, so suppose we are having at one node, right, and we left and right, like 2 and 3, right, and then again left and right, right, 4 and 5, right? So you see, so 1 represents, so let me write it. So 1 is a representative of 0 to n-1. You all can see on my screen, or you can just open the collaborate link and you can see that. So 1 represents 0 to n-1 element, right? But 2 represents from 0 to 1th element. So this 2 is second element is representing 0 to 0th element and 1th element, 0th element to 1th element, and third element, third node will be representative of second element and third element, or second node to third node basically, right? And then so these are the actual first, second, third node, right? So what I'm trying to say is that each time the range becomes more narrow, right? The range is becoming narrower, and then it will narrow in such a way that it will become 1 only. Like what I mean to say is that it will be like 1 and 1. So you see, second node, I'm just writing in the bracket so that you understand it. So you see, what I'm trying to say is that second node is responsible for 0 to 1th element, right? Isn't it? Yeah, 0 to 1th element, right? And the third node will be responsible for how much? Second to third index, right? So these are indexes basically, right? 0 to first index and 0 to third index, right? And then fourth, so this fourth is in itself a node, right? So this will be responsible for 0 to 0th index, isn't it? Is this clear what I'm mapping in the tree basically? All of you are understanding it correctly? Yeah. So what I mean to say is that at the leaf node, what happens is that you are having two indexes in the place of a start and end, but it will be such a way that a start and end will become equal only, right? Because you see, 0th to 0th index, fifth will be responsible for 1th to 1th index, because it is an element in itself, right? So 6 will be representative of second to second element, 7th will be representative for 4th to 4th element, like that, right? Is it clear to all of you guys? I'm just teaching you in a very like very good fashion, because nobody was there to tell me, because like this. So so yeah, it took me, I think, a lot of hours or something like that. Then I was able to grasp the concept basically, right? So yeah, so now you see what I proved, that in the leaf node, what the property will be. Can you explain the indexes again? Okay, so yeah, Upendra, what I'm trying to say is that, so first index, you see what I'm highlighting in the screens here. So first node is responsible for 0 to n-1 elements, right? Indexes, I'm talking about the indexes. Then the second node will be responsible for 0 to 1, right? Why 0 to 1? Because half part will be like divided into the left and half part will be divided into right part, right? The third element will be second to third index. So second element is how much? So second index is 6, right? And the third index is 7. So you see, these all nodes are representative of few nodes basically. So these are called representative nodes. So 1, 2, 3 are representative nodes, while 4, 5, 6, 7 are the actual nodes, right? Did you get my point? And then so say second and third node will be representative of 0 to 1 and then second to third index. But fourth, you see fourth node, it will be representative, it is the value itself, right? So it will be 0 to 0, right? Like that, right? Yeah. So you see now it is very clear. Like now what will be the base case? So the base case will arrive, you just need to write in the if condition when will the base case will arrive. So you'll see on the line number 55, the base case will be when start will become equal to end, isn't it? Is it clear to all of you? Exactly. This is very, like, it is very easy now. Like I'm not putting any complexities in that. It should be clear to all of you. If it is not, please ask in the chat box. If this becomes, so that means that we reach up to leaf node, isn't it? So the moment we reach up to leaf node, what we need to do? So we need to assign the array values to be segment tree leaf values, leaf node values, right? So at that time, what we'll be doing is that, so this st, which represents segment tree, will be the integer pointer. It means that is a kind of array, and we'll be kind of doing start is equals to, we'll be taking the actual array value, right? And we can take whether start and end because all those are equal, right? And it should not be start basically. So in segment tree, we are kind of having its own index. So where we are in the segment tree, that will be representative form segment tree node index basically, on which node we are at actually. So this is a kind of representative node. You can say also like this to make it more clear. Representative node, right? So start segment tree st representative is equals to start, sorry, array or start or end, both are equal now, right? Is this clear to all of you? So Sasi is asking question that if we have array 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, in that particular scenario, what will happen? So you see this base case will be same only, but there will be difference actually. So this base case will be same only. Why? Because you see the more, no matter how many, whether you are having even number of elements or odd number of elements, leaf node, everything will be equal only, isn't it? But the difference will be, you see the number of representative nodes will be different basically, right? The number, it will come further, we'll just discuss that part actually. So therefore I was asking to you that here in this case is very easy basically, but even if it is not, it is having odd number of elements, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So how, what will be the tree? You can make the tree by yourself only. 1 and then 2, 3 will be there, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, and then one more, to accommodate one more element basically, we will be having, so we'll be having one more representative node basically, right? So it will be having one more level of nodes basically, isn't it? So here you see in the tree basically, it is having 3 levels basically. So first level will be first, second level will be consisting of 2 and 3, and the third level will be consisting of 4, 5, 6, 7. But in your case, the number of representative nodes will be increased basically, or the number of levels will be increasing, right? So it will be accommodated in 4 levels, 4 different levels basically. So that we'll see, that is not a very, like, that will be covered actually in the code, right? So yeah, so what I was trying to tell is that we just, so this one is clear to all of you, right? So line number 57, now we just return this, right? So you know what we did? We just created one leaf node successfully, and now what we need to return is that we need to return this, what, this value basically, right? What is this value basically, right? So we are, I'll just tell you why we are returning this element. It will become clear basically, right? So we are representing this start index or start value basically, not the index, right? And then yeah, and then we are, yeah, so now of course you all know that we have to write a recursive function. We need to call the function in itself, like we need to call the same function by writing some recursive expression, right? So how we are dividing? We are dividing by 2, right? We are dividing every time in half of it, right? So let us say or no need only, you just do, so start segment tree the representative right will be equal to, you see this function construct seg, we are calling recursion, right? 2 times, isn't it? Because we are kind of doing half part every time, right? So we will calling this function 2 times, and each function call will be responsible for half of its parts, right? So see half part, how we will define half part. So array will be array, of course. So then what is the second parameter? Second parameter is the start one, right? So start will be start. So we'll be kind of dividing it in 2 parts. So start from a start to mid element, and then from mid plus 1 element to end element. This is how we do, right? When we divide. So start element will be start only, and then we are kind of having start plus, this is the way actually, end minus to get the mid element, end minus start by 2, isn't it? So this is the end element. So end element, instead of end element, we are kind of dividing it, right? So this is the mid element. Is this question clear to you all, guys? Because this is a way to just decide what is the mid element basically. So, and then we are passing the segment tree, right? So that will be same as that only, st, let us say, and then we are kind of going to its left child or right child, right? So that will be kind of representative nodes, right? So so this representative, let me do it in second line, right? So what I'm trying to say is that so this representative into one more thing I did not discuss, I'll discuss now. Let me try to copy it first. So you see what will be the left child in the binary tree which we which we built now in the diagram. What will be the left child? So left child, I am saying that left child. So for example, like this is a very simple thing. If you studied heap from me in the other sessions, you can remember that the left child will always be 2i plus 1 and the right child will be 2i plus 2, isn't it? So how it becomes is that, so it is a convention basically. Forget about this one actually. Do not see to the highlighted part because it is wrong at this moment, right? So anyway, so what I'm trying to see is that representative. So left, how you will decide which is the left child basically. So left child always in the tree, binary tree actually, in the case of heap also, and in some other trees also, left child is always in the array. If you're kind of donating if you're kind of denoting, or you are kind of making an array instead of the binary tree basically in itself. So this particular array will tell all about the binary tree drawn basically. So in that particular tree array, so the left tree is decided by the index 2i plus 1, right? And the right child will be 2i plus 2. So what I meant to say is that this particular second node, so you see in the diagram what I'm saying, this particular second node will be present in the array, segment tree array, at the index of 2i plus 1, and I is the index of its parent node. So for example, parent node it has 0, so the child node, left child node will be existing of 2i plus 1, so 2 into 0 plus 1, so first node, and then the right child will be present at 2i plus 1, 2i plus 2, right? So 2i plus 2 will be I 0, so right to 2, second index. Did you get what I'm trying to say? Left child and right child, how you will be finding left child and right child? Anyone who did not get this concept, how we are going towards how we are reaching up to left child and right child, can please post in the chat box that you did not get this part, or even you can post to me like privately also. You can post to me that if you did not get how we are deciding what is the index of left child and right child, right? Okay, I am assuming that all of you got this, right? Okay, you want me to repeat? So yeah, so what I'm trying to say, you see, I'm writing something. Suppose that parent node is at index I, right? So parent node is at index I, right? So what I'm saying is that there should be some convention in such a way that we define the left child, which, like you see in the picture we just draw it, right? This is left and this is right, but in the array there should be some way, right? For example, what I'm trying to say is that so in the array actually you cannot draw in the array, right? You cannot tell to the array index actually, okay, your left child is this one, your right child is that one, right? You cannot do that, right? So what I'm trying to say is that there should be some way, actually mathematical way, in such a way that for a particular index we can clearly know that, okay, this is the left child and this is the right child, right? There should be some way. So the convention defined in the tree data structure is that you always consider left child at the index of 2i plus 1, and then this is the formula, right child. This is a convention. You can mention that, you can say that, you can assume that this is a convention, that right child will be 2i plus 2. So this is how, like, are you getting the point? This is how, like, a drawn a pictorial binary tree can be represented in the form of array itself. Like with the help of array, you can just draw the tree, if you know, if you follow this convention, and with the help of tree you can just conclude the array actually, like both the informations are like, got it? Okay. So yeah, so that is why I'm saying that from one node to come to its left part, you need to representative into 2 plus 1, so I into 2 plus 1, and representative into 2 plus 2, sorry, yeah, here it will be 2 plus 2 basically. Yeah, I'm not completing, right? So this is the way, right? And this representative node is a particular, like, ith node or parent node, you can say, in the segment tree, right? And you see in the first call I have written that array will be array, of course, in the both one, but in the first part it will be from start to mid, right? And the second part it will be mid plus 1 to end, right? Isn't it? So it will be kind of mid. So it will be kind of mid plus 1 and then end. Is it clear to all of you what I'm trying to say? We just divided into two parts, right? From start to mid plus mid element, and then from mid plus 1 to end element. Anyone who did not get this one? Please post in the chat box if you did not get it. Okay. So you know what? You got the segmented data structure. You know now how to build the data structure, right? So this is the one, and then in the end actually, so this is how. So you see, since we are calling this recursion, here should be, we should be getting some value here, right? Because we are calling the recursion, so this recursion will be returning a value, which is the element of start element basically, right? So this node will be like summing the values basically, right? So like that. I believe this should be, I think it should be st only. It should be st basically, right? Yeah. So you now see why I was returning something from here, right? Because you see, we divided a problem in two halves basically, and then we are returning the solution of every half, and then we are summing and then storing in representative basically, right? One thing, the representative here, these two representative are not equal. Can you sense this, what I'm trying to say? So this representative is actually parent representative of this representative. Are you getting my point? Because you see, this representative is not equal in the sense that these two representative belong to two different function call stack, right? So for example, so this one, so this problem will be called for start is equals to 0, and so let us say representative will be 0, let us say, right? Let us say it will be 0, right? So what I'm trying to say to you is that so this 0, so this 0 which I'm highlighting now is this 0, right? But you see here the representative will be, here it will be called as, let us say, new function call is being called, right? So here it will be 0 into 2 plus 1, so it will be 1, and then it will be 2, right? So this representative will be something else actually, some other value, right? Everyone got this concept, what I'm trying to say? You should not confuse between these two representatives are same or not, because these two representatives will be different actually. Why? Because these two representatives belong to two different function call stack. Yeah, exactly. You should be able to get it basically. So yeah, anyway, that does not matter a lot. What I'm trying to say is that, so here it will be like returning a value, so we need to return it, that node basically, so for which we have already solved it, right? So yeah, so this is the construction code basically, which is like, I believe that I use some technique by which I think that all of you should be very, very much clear about how to construct basically, right? And this is very easy to write. Once you understand each and everything in this particular one, you should be very, very easy to write actually. And then you can go on practicing basically. This is a very simple, like you can say the example and code, but yeah, you can use a node basically, right? For segment tree, we have used just one pointer st, right? That's just integer value basically, integer array basically, right? So instead of integer array, you can use the node structures basically, right? And then you can manipulate in that way. That code will be as simple as this only. You just need to like do it for, you will just write it here as node left rather than 2i plus 1 or 2i plus 2. You will be writing it here as node left and then node right, like that, right? So I'll be taking break actually of 5 minutes, and then we'll be discussing the second part of this problem, very interesting problem, update problem, right? So this was the construction phase, we constructed it. Now update problem, and then the range query solution problem, right? So we were having two kinds of queries now. So till now we built this we built this pictorial structure in the form of code basically, right? So now we'll be discussing how we can calculate, how we can solve those two different queries, like the thing like update query and like update query and whatever, update query and range query basically, right? So let's take few minutes gap so that we all become fresh. So the time is 5:20, so we'll be coming back again on 5:25. Okay, okay guys. um, so yeah. Hi guys. So yeah, so let's discuss about um, other few functions quickly. So yeah, we are having two kinds of now, like all the things would be clear to you now, because um, let me go for directly two functions. Let us take that first one, right? The range query one, right? Range query is very easy basically. So yeah, so we are kind of having the same. So the interesting part in this particular one is that the interesting part of the interesting code part is that so this technique, the way I have coded the construction function, this technique will be only used in every other function basically, like for every other query also, right? So for example, we want to find a sum. So let us say the return type, I'm writing a function which will calculating the sum one, right? I'll be returning a sum which is an integer value, and then let us say the name of the function is sum, right? And we'll be providing, of course, the different things, right? So till now we do not need to provide the array function, array ARR, right? Because we have already constructed the segment part. So rather than passing the array, we'll be passing the segment one, right? And how we pass it the segment, I just took it as integer pointer. You can, so st was the segment tree, right? St named as st. So all the information of the question is being encoded in the segment tree data structure, right? So with the help of segment tree data structure only, we should be able to get each and everything, right? And then we want to provide actually from which index to which index. So start and end index, right? So this will be kind of start and end index of the like segment tree data structure, right? But we need to yeah, so this will be kind of you can say that, so this will be kind of a representative node, or let us say some value, let us say int so let us say for the namesake current index, right? And then we want to figure it out what is the query index, right? So the query index, what I mean is that start query, start index query, or let me write I to j basically, right? It will be more clear. You see there are 4 indexes basically, don't get confused. So these 4 indexes represent 2 different parts, right? So this I and j represents that from which index to which index you want to find the sum, right? So these indexes, right? And the start and end indexes tells you that in the segment tree up to which node we are basically. So in the segment tree, what like so in the current function call stack, up to which start and end we have covered basically, right? So what I'm trying to say is that, so this start okay, so what I'm trying to say is that, so this start and end will be kind of fixed thing, right? Let me write it. So this will be always, I mean, in the beginning, this will be 0 to minus n minus 1, right? And this I and j will be the given in the, so you remember in the query of type 1, we used to provide 2 indexes basically. Oh, let me change it, otherwise you may get confused basically, right? So this query 1 will be 0 to n minus 1, 0 to I and j will be 0 to n minus 1. I'm just changing the convention basically. Convention is that we took 2 indexes, right? Start and end index, and then we need to sum all the elements between start and end, right? So this will be provided to you in the question, but this will be 0 to n minus 1, right? So yeah. So now the interesting part is that, so you know what you need to do now? You just need to figure it out which node is responsible for these values basically, like for this range of values basically, that we need to figure it out, right? So of course we'll be doing a similar fashion. So this start and end, we need to figure it out a particular node which is responsible for all the elements in these 2 nodes. It may be possible, as someone asked the question in the beginning, it may be possible that like the segment tree mentioned basically, or 6, 7, 8, for example, in our array, which was 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So 5, 6, 7 elements cannot belong to like no one node will be responsible for these all 3 elements basically. So 2 nodes will be involved, 2 representative nodes will be involved, right? So you know what I mean to say? I mean to say that since the number of elements is odd number of elements, and the binary table also always consists, one node will always consist 2 elements, right? So if you are having 3 elements or 5 elements or 7 elements, so it may be possible that no one node will be representative of all the elements in the given segment. So in the given segment, say that from start to end basically, right? So it may be possible that 2 elements, 2 representative nodes will be responsible for calculating the sum, right? So those things will be managed basically. You see, I'm just trying to figure it out whether the current one, right? So for example, so what I mean to say is that the start and end, so start is less than or yeah, this should work, less than I or not, and I'm just trying to figure it out whether the current like node is in the thing or not, right? So and end is greater than equal to, sorry, less than actually. So what I'm trying to say is that, so end is greater than equal to J basically, right? So you see what I'm trying to figure it out here. If this is the case, then it means that we got the representative node. Return the segment tree node, which node? Current index. So that means that the current index, we got it. So current index is the answer in this case. So you see what I did. So suppose that we are, so how will be, again, we'll be calling one recursive function here. So what we're doing, we'll be going from top to bottom, right? So this is the kind of base case, right? So you see, we are going from top to down. So basically we will come to top to the bottom leaf, I mean leaf node, and then we'll come back towards the top element, right? So the moment this condition will become true, that means that the current index is the representative of all the nodes between the start to end. How? You see, this start is less than equal to I, right? So that means that start is less than equal to I and the end is greater than J basically, right? You see, I'm just following in the tree actually to make it clear basically what I'm trying to say. So I'm trying to say is that, let us say start and end is, start is, let us say second element. So start is, let us say 1, or let us say 0th element. Start is 0th element and end is 1th element, right? So if start is 0 and end is 1, then what is the representative node? Representative node will be 2, is it not? So 2 represent second representative node, second in the sense that the value 2 basically, which I'm highlighting here at this moment. So this particular representative, I think it should be clear because I explained to you all this, guys. So 2 will be responsible for fourth and five element, right? So what I'm trying to say is that if start is 0 and end is 1, you see this condition, and I is 0, right? And J will be how much? N minus 1. So N minus how much here? So here it will be 3, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. N is 4, and then 4 minus 1, 3. So you see this value will become 3 basically, right? So N minus 1 is 3 only in our simple case. So you see start is how much in this case? In our simple example, 0 and 1. Start is, let us say 0. We want to sum all the elements between 0 and 1. We want to basically figure it out what is the representative node. So and the end is 1, right? So 0 is less than equal to 0. Yeah, that's true. And end 1 is greater than equal to 3. Is it true? No, it is not true, right? So therefore this if condition is not true. But you can realize now that if this condition is true, that means that, so what does is this condition represent is basically that this current index, which is currently 0, so this current index, or you can say that this one, right? So this current index, or let us say this one, so this second representative node is responsible for 4 and 5, and we got it, so we'll return it, right? So if these two values, so let me take an example basically. So let us say current index is 0, right? So current index, let us say 0, and then start is 0, and then end is, let us say 3. I mean all the elements, we want to figure it out, all the elements basically, right? So it will be 3, right? And then this will be 3, right? So you see start is less than equal to I, right? So start is 0 and I is 0, so it matches, right? And then end is greater than equal to J. So that means that 3 is greater than equal to J. So that's true. So that means that we will be returning segmentary current index. Current is how much? 0 value. So we'll be returning segmentary 0th index, which is 1. So this will be consisting of what? This will be consisting of 0 to n minus 1. So what will its value? So we are considering all the elements value in this particular base node, right? So root node basically. So the answer will be 13 plus 9, that is 22. So this particular node will be consisting of sum known as 22, right? And then accordingly, like all the nodes will be consisting of sum of the its like left child and right child, basically the all the nodes basically for which it is responsible, right? Is everyone got this condition basically? Let me draw one more thing from which it should be very clear now, right? You see, so I is less than j, right? So j is I is the smallest element, right? Now start, right? You see what I'm writing on line number 49. And I'm just highlighting it. Now you see. So start value is coming first, then I value is coming, then j value is coming, and then end value is coming, right? So what I'm trying to say is that if start is less than I and end is equal to end is greater than j, so that means that the range ij is consist within start and end, isn't it? And since we are going from down to like from bottom to up, so there will never be case that so you see we are coming from bottom up approach, so bottom to up, so we are kind of increasing, right? So what I mean to say is that initially start was existing between I and j, and end was, you listen this line very carefully, it will be all clear to you guys. So what I'm trying to say is that start will exist. So initially, so you do not imagine this picture basically, you just imagine that let me do this actually. I think you should all be getting it, but still I'm just trying to. So you see I and j are two values, right? I and j are two values for which I 0 and 3, right? So what I'm trying to say is that since we are coming from bottom to up, so start and end used to lie between I and j, right? And then we are keep increasing start, we are keep decreasing the start and we are keep increasing the end. So the moment I tell you that start was between I and j, and now the start value will keep on decreasing basically. So the moment I say that decreasing, it means that it will, suppose that is the x-axis basically, right? So it will come on this side, right? And since we are increasing the end element, so it will come on this side. The moment it will happen, that means that we got the current index as representative node. Is it clear to all of you guys? Please post in the chat box what I'm trying to say. So what I'm just repeating it once again. Is it clear to you guys? Please post in the chat box. What I'm trying to say is that I and j was there, and then start and end used to lie between I and j, right? And what we are trying to do, since we are going from bottom up approach, we are trying to decrease the start value and increase the end value, right? And then it will happen that the moment it will come, start is greater than I, sorry, start is less than I, and then end is becoming greater than j. So that moment actually, it means that we got the current index as the exact representative node. So we'll be just returning that one. Yeah. Sasi, is it clear to you now? I'll just repeat it once again, this statement. What I'm trying to say is that I and j were two indexes basically, and start and end used to lie between I and j. You see line number 49, what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say is that start and end, Sasi, you just listen carefully. Start and end used to lie between this actually, right? Isn't it? Start and end used to lie this, right? But since we are going from bottom to up, so a start will come on decreasing, keep on decreasing, and end on keep on increasing basically. And the moment start will become before I actually, that is less than I basically. You see in the condition start is less than equal to I, and then j is like end is greater than equal to j. At that moment, it means that we just crossed it. The moment we just crossed it, the current index is the correct representative basically. So we'll just return it. So that is a thing. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So base case done. Now it is very easy. Right? What else can happen? This was the one of the base cases, right? What else can happen if j is less than start. If j is less than start means that, or if j is less than start means that, where was that? Yeah, line number 49 basically. J is less than start means that J is, yeah. So J is less than a start means that you got it wrong basically. So that there will be never a case that you will get a proper representative basically, right? Or you got a case something like, let us say you got a case that start or I basically is greater than end, right? Like that, right? Not start basically. I think I is greater than end basically. In that particular scenario, what will happen is that you like you got out of the bound basically. So you need to return the some zero value in this case, because some like sum is there. So even if you return zero, then also it will be correct only. So you just return zero anyway. So these were the base cases. Now you just write the recursive function. What will the recursive function? Same recursive function. It is very interesting actually. Like this is same recursive function. You see how you will be splitting the value now, sum and then two parts, right? And then you do the plus and you write the another sum, right? And you know what to write here. I think all of you are intelligent now. You yourself can figure it out, right? So you'll just doing the half part, right? So you will be, you see what are the st is there, so we will write st, right? And then we will write so we will be writing I basically, but not up to j basically. We will split the segment tree basically, right? So I comma, so I'm writing the mid value is equals to that value, right? Where was the mid value? This value. Right? So you just write mid, and yeah, and in the second half, what will you do? st will be passed as it is, mid plus 1 will be passed, and then j will be passed, right? And then those things, two things, query one, start and index will be as it is, because we need to figure it out, that one, right? So start and end here also. Clear to you? And then we'll be keep on dividing into parts, right? So the same thing, representative into, so here we are having current index, so current index into 2 plus 1, and then current index into 2 plus 2, right? Like that. That's it, as simple as this. Done. So this is a sum function, right? And like that you can write the update function also, right? So in the case of update function, what you will do, in the case of update function, you will just kind of, so this base case will be same kind of, right? This base case will be kind of not the same, because we are not returning anything, right? So in the case of update, we are just will be just kind of having void, right? Isn't it? Because we are just updating, we are not returning anything, right? So in the case of base case also, of course you will be passing one segment tree, right? And then same thing, right? I and j will be passing that from where to where this particular function call stack lies to I comma int j. And then so instead of passing I and j, you will be passing just one index basically, right? Updating index, we call it as update index, let us say. So for this index you need to update, that means that, right? And then you need to write whatever the new value, right? New value, right? Or you can take, for simplicity purpose, you can take the difference also, like how much you need to add in the existing element or subtract or like that, I mean like. And then you need to write what is the current index. So same function basically, right? And then you can just write the code, right, in the similar function, right? You'll be just writing some base cases. So base case will be similar. You can just take one example, simple example. It will become more realized to you guys that okay, what I'm trying to say. So if this update index, you mean what, like can you realize what why this if condition will be responsible, for what this if condition will be responsible? So this if condition will be responsible for those nodes basically for which we do not want to update basically. For example, so this recursion will be responsible for recursive, will be responsible for going through all the nodes basically by recursion, right? So for example, if you want to update this fourth node, you see, if you want to update this fourth value, but if the recursion is going towards this actually, then we do not need to do anything, right? So in that particular case, we just move it back, we just return it back, right? So therefore this if condition is responsible, that if condition will come into play basically. So the moment it will feel like, oh, I'm going in the wrong direction, it will just break it out, right? So if it is kind of less than I, or it is going, or it is greater than j basically, so update index greater than j, so in that sense you just return it nothing, I mean come back from that point, right? And then you just update the value, right? So update index, you just reached at this point, update index is equals to whatever diff was there, right? So you just keep on adding that. You added it. Now what you need to do, since this value is being updated, you also need to update all the upper nodes, is it not? Please post in the chat box what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say is that if you updated one leaf node, you have to update every other representative node coming in that line or coming in that parampara basically, right? तो मैं बोलना चाह रहा हूँ कि अगर आप लीफ नोड एक पर्टिकुलर लीफ नोड को अपडेट कर दिए तो इसका मतलब है कि उससे रिलेटेड जितने ऊपर में रिप्रेजेंटेटिव नोड आएंगे जिनको यूज करके आप इस नोड तक पहुंचे हो, उन सबको आपको अपडेट करना होगा. Is it not? Is it clear to everyone what I'm trying to say? If you updated one leaf node, then you have to update all the upper representative node, all the upper those representative nodes by which you reached up to this particular representative node, right? Yep. So for that thing actually you need to do the recursion, right? So yeah, so start plus, so you just did the difference, and then so till what time you will keep on doing this? Till the time that like when the recursion will occur, right? So the recursion will occur when I becomes j, isn't it? I is not equal to, so if this will be the case, that means that you need to keep on doing the recurse basically, right? If both the elements are equal, then it means that you do not need to recurse it, isn't it? Let us suppose that like I and j is what? A particular index basically, I mean like for up to, so this I and j represent the all the representative nodes coming in the current index, like coming in the direction of current index. So current index is responsible for all the nodes between I and j, like that, right? So yeah, there's a kind of range for current index. So since if it is not equal to I is not equal to j, till that time you keep on recursing, and the moment I say that recursive, that means that same function, right? So update, and like that only you can do, you can write it same way, right? So you just need to call it for 2 times, isn't it? You just call it 2 times, and then you know what need to be done actually, right? So for so st will be st only in every case, right? And then from here I to mid, the value of mid you can figure it out, right? Like that. Sorry, from here it will be I comma mid, and from here it will be mid plus 1 to, sorry, mid plus 1 up to j, right? And other things will be same, right? So other things will be update index, then diff will be same only, and then of course from here will be current, same as those actually, there will be no difference basically, 2 plus 1 and then 2 plus 2, right? Is it clear to everyone? State index and then diff, then current index into 2 plus 2, right? So yeah, sorry, yeah. So this was all about the segmented data structure. So today's topic was actually greedy, but I just wanted to convey to all of you guys to know this data structure, advanced data structure, which is segmentary. And you can look at some other codes also. There is one lazy propagation basically. So the lazy propagation is the thing where we kind of having, so you see every time we update an element, we are kind of updating every node, which I was just trying to tell you, right? I was trying to tell you that if you updated a particular leaf node, then you have to update all the upper representative nodes by which you, like with the help of those nodes, with the help of those representative nodes from which you just came to that particular leaf node, right? But in the lazy propagation, what we do not update it upwards basically. So we just mark it that we need to update towards the upper side, right? We just mark it that we are not updating at this moment, but we'll just mark it. And the moment when someone will try to fetch a particular value, then we will feel that array we need to update it, then we will get the correct answer, then we just use to update it. So that is a kind of a little optimization which is called as lazy propagation, right? So we are not propagating upwards, we are propagating only when it is required, so therefore it is known as lazy propagation, right? So yeah, that is a variation. Basically you can just get it now because I have explained all this thing to you. And so today was greedy algorithm. So greedy algorithm is like very new, like it's a different kind of algorithm, only categorical algorithm basically, where you try to find a solution in a greedy way. So I'll just give a hint in few minutes so that you can come to know. For example, if you're having n elements, right, and you want to pick those elements, so every element is having a price included with that element, right? And you have to someone mentioned to you that you can only pick 5 elements. So what will you do? Let us say you are having 100 elements, right, and each element is having its own price, right? And then you want to pick only five prices. Which one will you pick? Please post in the chat box. Which one will you pick? No one? You all guys are not greedy. That's good. Okay, so I'm greedy. So what I mean to say is that so how are we solving? We just sort every element basically, if all 100 elements according to their price basically, isn't it? And then we'll pick those 5 elements whose price will be maximum. Everyone got it? What I'm trying to say? Please post in chat box. If you are having 100 elements and every element is having their price included in that, so if I need to pick only 5 elements, then I will be just sorting all the elements according to their price, and I will pick the most costly elements, all 5 costly elements, right? So like that. So that is a kind of greedy algorithm. So yeah, that was a greedy algorithm. You can go and solve knapsack problem basically. You can say 0-1 knapsack problem is a dynamic programming problem, and then I think fractional knapsack is a greedy problem, right? So you can solve the fractional knapsack. You'll get the gist of those things basically, right? So we are having 6 minutes left, and thanks to all of you guys for joining this session. I think at least all of you got what I was trying to teach today in the session, segment tree. If you have having any question related to this segment tree, related to data structure, algorithms, how to read, what is the language would be, something like that, some generic question, you can ask now. I'll be just answering. You can just post in the chat box, and yeah, because in 5 minutes we cannot start some new topic or something, so it will be good if I can answer your some specific or generic or whatever queries are there, right? Anything? Since all of you are in 3rd year guys, so just a general recommendation that all of you should start preparing for interviews, right? Because like the moment you enter in, and this is a very nice time that you can prepare all the other topics basically in the corona 10 days or more, right? From where we start. So you start from, so 2 things you need to practice, but since you are all in 3rd year, so I would recommend that you first of all practice dynamic programming. And for 1 month you just practice dynamic programming and tree. So tree is a huge topic basically, right? So tree is a huge topic in the sense that binary search tree is there, binary tree is there, then BST is there, of course binary search tree in the same way, and then recursive questions are there of tree. But since you are having less time, so I will recommend that you start preparing company wise. For example, just figure it out. These companies used to come in my college, right? So you just go to Geeks for Geeks or LeetCode or whatever website it may be. Geeks for Geeks is a good collection of questions, but the only negative advantage, the only negative thing in Geeks for Geeks is that the test cases for Geeks may be weak basically, or is weak basically, right? So like you need to write your own code and test on some other platform. LeetCode is the best platform basically to practice those questions, right? So prepare company wise. If Oracle is visiting in your college, then make all the questions asked in Oracle basically on Geeks for Geeks, right? By yourself, not looking at the solution. If you're not able to grasp a question, then you look at the solution, but make sure that you again solve that question after a few days, right? So that it can sustain in your brain basically. Because the moment you see the solution, you'll be able to solve at that moment, but you'll not be able to solve in the examination hall, right? So yeah, so that should be the way. Company wise preparation should be the way. That is how you should go, right? Any other question? Anything? Any generic question? Anything from a curriculum, from a college, DS Algo, companies, any company question or whatever, you can just ask. We are having few minutes left. No question? Okay, then oh, someone asked same question again. Is the certification of DS algo is important? Till the time you are able to solve questions of DS and algo in the interview, it is not important. Even if you are not able to solve the question, then also it is not important, because they don't care, right? So private companies do not care about your certification. So ideally, no. If you have done certification about some bonus points, the bonus point will be big data, machine learning, like that, right? So then also it will be useful only when you are able to answer some basic questions about that thing, right? So you'll be already answering a lot of questions about DS and algo. So therefore certification is not important. What is important, that you should be able to solve the DS algo question in interview, right? Because interviewer is not going to select you just because you are having certification, right? So I mean, like, being honest, it does not matter actually. Okay. Anything else you want to ask? Any question? Data science. So he's asking that from where we can do certification in ML. So see, certification is not important. Knowledge is important, right? So you can learn ML, data science, and all these things basically. Yeah, of course, it will add values in your CV, but these are kind of bonus points actually. You need to answer all the interview questions first, then it will be acting as a plus point basically, right? And also it will be acting as a plus point only when those companies are in need of these things, right? So yeah, so where you should learn a lot of, like, Udemy courses are there, like a lot of, like, online websites are there to learn basically ML and data science. Udemy is there, then Coursera is there, right? And then other things are, other famous websites are also there. If you want to know for ML and data science, let me tell you. So 1 minute is remaining. In 1 minute I'll just tell you, in the case of ML and data science, what is the best actually, which I recommend is that, of course, you can take help from Boards Infinity. I'm sure that they will be having some courses on ML and data science, but if you want to go more further additionally, then just wait. Okay, there's no need to do screen share now, so yeah, just wait a minute, I'm telling you. So the ML and data science, yeah, so just wait a minute. Yeah, cognitiveClass.ai is the one of the thing. They were having some good stuff, right? Cognitive class, you can just Google it actually, you will get it. Fast.ai, deep learning courses, you can search on Google. Deep learning courses are also good. Cognitive deep learning courses, Coursera of course is the one, like that, right? So you can Google and figure it out. That is not a very big deal, but yeah, this was the recommendation from my side, right? So yeah, okay guys, thanks a lot for joining, and let me, so okay, so yeah, okay, someone is asking, okay, if you want to start from beginning, from which topic we should start? Linked list, stack queues, this would be the beginning topic. Linked list, stack queues, and then you can move on to basics of linked list, basics of stack queues, and then you can move on to trees and all, right? Yeah, like that. trees and dynamic programming are the most important topic basically. So that is from the linked list only you should start basically. Linked list, stack, queue, and then tree, and then you should keep on increasing like the topics basically, and then you can come in the dynamic programming questions, array problems, and like that. Where we'll use segment tree. What is the advantage of it? I just mentioned in the beginning itself, where you just need to do the range queries basically, right? In the last class also, Arunachalam, I think that I told to you that you'll be using the, for example, if you're having in the front end code in the website, if you're having some kind of grid or matrix, or yeah, grid is there, and then we want to calculate some values in the range queries, right? So you do not need to go to the back end. You can just do in the front end itself. So that is a very great use of linked list. And I think some AngularJS library, they are having like included in the library basically. They use the segment tree to solve these kind of problems, right? Okay, someone mentioned what I do not know. What do you want to know? I mentioned cognitive class basically. Cognitive class. Just message cognitive class, and then what else I told you? Fast AI, I think I also told you. A lot of websites are there. You can search it. But yeah, this Coursera is also good, and the other. Yeah, exactly. Okay, guys. We'll just stop this class now, and yeah.